Grand Rising, Grand Arrival, Grand Return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. You're tuned into the Don't Miss It podcast with your host, Sophia Spiritualite, part of the MariKaNa News Network. In this episode and these two episodes, we go through the headline news for a particular week and we discuss some of the things that may have been missed or need to otherwise be addressed in a little bit detail. Of course, we have a short version of this that comes out shorter for the whole entire week that can be found on our TikTok and on our YouTube channel, MariKaNa News Network. And that's when I just cover the headlines. And so we get all the headlines in there. And in these podcasts, we get the opportunity to go into a little bit of detail and provide context on some of the things that actually matter. And we are a few weeks behind. This gives us the opportunity to see which of these things was really important and one of it was really just a distraction. So this is the week of February 3rd through 9th. In this episode, we're going to cover February 3rd through February 6th, 2025. All right, Monday, February the 3rd, 2025. Bay Area Shadow Cabal goes viral. I have no idea what that means, so it must have been a distraction. Churches are trying to shake down non-attending members. Oh, so a story comes out in the on social media that churches are calling former members who haven't attended in a while, and asking them to make donations. Of course, black churches. And this goes viral because what do you mean you're calling me to see if I'll make a donation? No, I don't go to your location for a reason. You don't need to ask me for money. You got to figure out another revenue model. Okay. USAID offices are closed today. So this is the first day that the whole USAID thing, there's some kind of a reaction within the government to what's been going on. And today is March the 15th, and I'll tell you, this goes on for weeks. We are still talking about USAID even in this current news cycle. So this is not something that goes away. Because USAID worldwide is a patronage system. And we talk about this in one of the executive orders, but basically the entire country, the entire planet has been, is being subsidized by the United States taxpayers, 100%. And our debts, they are literally, sucking us dry. And USAID is just one of these things. When there's so many more, it's hard to even put into words. And the biggest culprit is Britain. I know they want to say, oh, it's the EU, it's China. No. The biggest culprit in terms of real dollars is Britain, Great Britain, and the king. His entire kingship is being subsidized by United States tax dollars. That will come up eventually. Hasn't yet, but I do anticipate that it's coming. People demand equitable treatment for farm animals, i.e. Smithfield. So basically, if you don't know, the reason why there was this huge egg shortage and price hike where eggs were $10 to $15 per dozen is because the Biden regime, the Biden regime issued an order due to a quote unquote bird flu potential now, that over 1 million birds be slaughtered, egg laying birds. And so this is why the price of chicken didn't go up, because these were healthy chickens that they ordered killed to prevent bird flu, which is not how you do anything. This is total opposite of anything that anyone has ever heard. And that's just what Biden did. If you, China bought Smithfield, which is in North Carolina, I do believe, and the treatment of the animals at Smithfield is horrible. It used to be good when it was, owned by our people here in this country, but once they sold it, it has turned into a great disaster. And so I really hope that they force this Chinese company to divest, because they are doing and as someone who knows truckers, they hate picking up from Smithfield because they're never on time. It's always a crazy mess. They're really, really mismanaging that company, that name, that brand is not being treated fairly. And so I do hope that they are forced to divest, because that sale really should have never happened for national security reasons and protection of our food lines. Also, this is why they want our lower food standards in this country, because they can sell Americans, who are the biggest consumer in the world, lower quality food prices and keep their food in their countries for their people. And this is what they do. I mean, this is some pretty horrible stuff, as we'll continue to see. Okay. AOC has received USAID money to start her career. And you wonder, the Young Turk Sink Unger, a fellow podcaster can never remember this guy's name, Sink Unger. He literally gave her USAID money to start her career. The Mexican president agrees to stand with Canada, then double crosses to make a deal with Trump. This is something that I don't understand. Trudeau, he is a terrible negotiator. He let Gloria Steinbaum, of the president of Mexico, gas him up like, we're not going to do this, we're standing together, and literally double crossed him. Trudeau, Steinbaum did, double crossed him and made a deal with Trump. Trudeau can't get out of that office fast enough. He is not a good negotiator. The New Jersey governor announces hosting migrants in his home. He literally says, Murphy, I think is his name. He literally says, oh, I'm going to let migrants come and live in my house. Like, after you have this whole thing with Tom Homan saying we're going to arrest anybody who's supporting these people, so on and so forth, you have the actual governor of a state saying, yeah, I'm going to let these people stay in my house. Crazy. Trump creates the Sovereign Wealth Fund. This is one of our presidential actions that we discuss on. Actually, it's for this week. We discussed that particular presidential action. Is so important. I'm not going to go into all the details because I do discuss it in the podcast for Saturday. But just know that every rich country that's truly rich has a sovereign wealth fund, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all these, mullahs and all that stuff that has to do with their sovereign wealth fund. The Democrats stage a protest outside of USAID where they look crazy. They're literally protesting keeping corruption and mismanagement of American dollars. Doesn't go over so well, okay? It is announced that there's going to be a 20-year ban on deportees. So if you get deported by the United States government, you're not going to be able to come back for 20 years. A 20-year ban, okay? Canada then, now after they're double crossed by Mexico, Canada then comes back and bends the knee, which is, of course, naturally. It comes out that DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, was formerly the U.S. Digital Service, which was created by the Obama executive order. So if you read the executive order that started DOGE, you would know that this comes from the Obama era U.S. Digital Service. Now, let's talk a little bit about the U.S. Digital Service. Basically, what the U.S. Digital Service was Obama's way of staying in charge of the government even when he came out of office. The U.S. Digital Service has back doors into every single government agency. So any action that President Trump took in his first term, the U.S. Digital Service was monitoring it so that they could counter it. And you would say that in President Trump's first term, many things were disjointed and didn't get done and all this kind of stuff. This is the reason why, because you had Obama in the background basically counteracting every single thing that they did. And so the U.S. Digital Service was also created, if you look at that executive order, under the pretenses of modernizing the government. And then they actually didn't modernize the government. They just took back doors to everything so that they could figure out what was going on. So in taking over the power from the U.S. Digital Service, which was already created, already been in action, and applying it to his own group, which is Doge. And they are going to put this into law. This is a thing Obama never did. He never wanted his stuff to be laws, because then you have oversight requirements. And so President Trump has, he has said this is going to become a law. Some of this stuff is going to go into the law. And basically, it's going to take this from an executive order, making it a lawful thing. But see, this puts the Democrats in a bad position, because they can't say, well, what you're doing is illegal, when the thing has been up since Obama. They cannot ever out their golden child. And so this is a huge problem for them. Now, I already knew that's what they did. It was obvious to anybody who knows about the U.S. Digital Service. But if you didn't know about it, and the U.S. Digital Service was being run out of Obama's house that they had in DC. So I'm assuming they just cut the cords off for them and was like, well, we're not doing that anymore. It's over. Because they took over the program. You can't stop a president from coming in and taking over a program that was created with an executive order. It doesn't work like that. I mean, it doesn't work like that. Okay. Department of Education officials are placed on leave. This creates a whole thing. El Salvador offers to take any and all violent criminals. And if you don't know about the El Salvador prison that they have in there, that thing is no joke. No joke. There's no internet there. There's no Wi-Fi. You got to go through several layers of barriers of stuff. Those people are kept in a pen like animals. They don't have to ever leave. Once you go there, you never leave. Never. Never. You don't have to leave for medical. You leave out of there in a box. And maybe they might just cremate you, and let's say you leave out of there in the box. Let's just be nice and say you leave out of there in the box. You never leave. And El Salvador was one of the most dangerous countries. And now, Bukele has done a great job. Let's just say that. Van Jones admits Trump is smart. I mean, these people are just realizing, oh my gosh, we've been played for 8 years. They've been played. It just realized. All right. Secretary Rubio says that USAID believes they answer to no one. This is another one of these boondoggles that has been created by an executive order, and they feel like they work outside of the executive branch. I don't understand this. It's not how anything works, but they've been getting away with it for so long. They just think that it's okay. All right. And last but not least for this day, the U.S. Navy has a laser weapon. I don't know why that was such a big deal. Of course they have laser weapons, but they made it known. You never know what the play is with some of this stuff. All right. So Tuesday, February the 4th, 2025, gematria is being used for witchcraft. Gematria is being used for witchcraft. A lot of these gematria people are literally doing witchcraft, and this is not good, helpful magic that's going to help somebody, or white magic, or whatever they call it, good intentions. No. This is being used to hurt people. 100%. People are getting sick from the fog. So there's this fog that's like in a lot of places, and people are getting sick from it. This goes kind of viral on the internet. People start to notice, I got this fog and now I'm sick and all of this stuff. And I didn't get sick from it, but I do know people who complain about getting sick from it. So we don't know what it is. They never come out and tell us. But as of this day, 20,000 government employees have taken the Trump buyout. The SBA uses loans to buy foreigners, because in order to get an SBA loan, you have to have a certain credit, this and that, right? So basically, if you're a regular small business person who is trying to figure out how to make it and all these problems, you can't go to the SBA and get help, because your credit has to be good, and you're not going to have good credit if you're trying to make a business work. So the whole way that the SBA is set up is literally not set up to help anybody start any business, except if you come here and you have no credit, which means that when they run your credit, it'll be good, and then you'll be able to get an SBA loan. So the entire way the SBA is run so that Americans cannot get access to it. I have never had a positive interaction with the SBA, and I have been trying to work with them all kind of different ways. I've never had a positive interaction with them. Okay. Staff at the Politico didn't get paid after USAID shutoff. This begins the search by many internet researchers into what political organizations are getting USAID funds, and the numbers are incredible. A lot of these so-called newspapers are being supported by the United States taxpayer against our will. We didn't agree or ask or anything for this, and that's what's been happening. The Women's March decides, those are the pink hat people, they're going to have a weekly moment of silence, 12:53 on Wednesdays. It's a ritual, they're witches, and they're trying to take their ritual nationwide. Okay. A guy comes out with a thread about the USAID in Nigeria, which is completely corrupt. Totally corrupt. It's so bad. Most of the USAID money that's supposed to go to Nigeria, I think he said 70% of it stays inside of the Beltway. So that explains why all of these Nigerians and Africans and whoever, dang, that's loud. So sorry. That explains why all these Africans back where I'm from was getting all of this money. It was coming from USAID. They were not rich. They're just scammers. Anyway, they're just scammers. Okay. All right. FBI agents are mad that the DOJ is creating a list of those who targeted the J6 people. See, because the FBI thought that they were going, oh, well, they're the FBI, our most treasured institution. No one's going to come back and check their work. But now people are saying, well, because, do I talk about the numbers? The FBI has a staff of 10,000. Let's say it's 10,000. 6,000 agents were assigned to January 6th of the 10,000. That means they weren't investigating nothing else. They weren't doing anything else. Nobody in the whole FBI was doing anything else but investigating the people who had attended the January 6th protest. Completely legal protests. This is what they were doing. They weren't doing anything else. That's 60% of your workforce. If you have 60% of your employees doing one thing, that is the most important thing to that company. Anyway, let's keep going. Free and slave blacks built America. So it's not just that slaves built America. Free blacks and slaves built America. This is a very important distinction, because they keep trying to say, oh, slaves built America. No, it's free blacks too. There were free blacks that built this country just as much as the slaves. Okay. Drake's Anita Max tour kicks off, and it is a giant failure. Because remember, he's still sad about this whole Kendrick thing, and he is really in his feelings. As a matter of fact, on the first day of the tour, I think that's why I put this here, he comes on the stage wearing all black, and he has smoke coming out of his back like bullet wounds. Like, this is a bitter man. He is a bitter, and this tour does not go well for him. Oh, Obama's mother was a USAID worker. Of course she was. Okay, you have this black woman in Pakistan going viral. Okay. All right. How do I tell this story? There's this black woman out of New York. She clearly has some kind of a psychological problem. She posts on the internet as a white woman. But that gets totally skipped out when you tell the story. She meets this guy in Pakistan, and she goes to Pakistan to try to marry him. Now he is like 20 years younger than him, so the parents see her and is like, this is not who you said you was going to marry. No. So he no longer can marry her per his parents. And so she basically tries to, I don't know, extort or goes on this rampage against the Pakistani government for however, this whole thing of this guy, backing out of this marriage. And there's a nice guy who runs a women's shelter there who basically takes her in and, lets her do her press conferences and make sure she's eating and taken care of, getting her into mental facilities, whatever they can do to help her while she's there. So she just literally goes viral as like the queen of Pakistan. And so basically this raises the image of Pakistan to black people, because this may come up, I don't know, but there's bloggers who have been trying to, show the nice side of Pakistan and all of this stuff. And basically you would have these people come to Pakistan and never give them any credit. They would take them around to all their favorite places, shoot all the content, all of that, and then literally not even talk about the people who helped put them on. And so there's a lot of Pakistani influencers who are really, really grateful that the whole world has gotten to see how these people are treated. And for the black community specifically, you can tell that now black people would go to Pakistan, because Pakistan was never on my list. I heard Turkey was beautiful. All I know about Pakistan is they got beef with India and they is always scrapping. Like, I've seen lots of battles between Pakistan and India. So I've just be like, I don't want to get involved in that. But there's lots of beautiful parts of Pakistan and people find this out. I mean, they have McDonald's there. She eats at McDonald's, and she's filming. So much of this stuff is just being filmed and put on the internet, and it's really making Pakistan and the people there look like nice people, because here in America, you see these people, these Pakistanis that own these corner stores and all this stuff, they're pretty mean to black people. So you wouldn't think that if you go to their country, they would actually be nice. So this is really repairing the relationship between, of course, our cousins, the Ishmaelites. They're another section of the Ishmaelites. They got their whole other issue now, but they're another section of that group. So this is a really big thing in the black community. Outlier conservatives want revenge. Most people don't want revenge. We just want, I call it restitution. We just want restitution. We don't need revenge. But there's an outlier of the conservatives that want revenge. And these particular individuals are creating chaos within the MAGA movement. Okay. There's a great thread by Occult Hours on X Twitter about face reading, which is called Mian Xiang, Xiang. You might want to go check that out. Trump is going to be the first sitting president to go to the Super Bowl. He goes. USAID missions abroad are shut down as of Friday, which is the 7th. So this is a whole thing. They literally shut down the entirety of USAID. Schumer introduces Stop the Steal legislation, which is insane. Stop the Steal is what MAGA supporters were saying about the 2020 election. So now they're just, this is, let's see, today is March 15th. This is where the doom spiral really ramps up. They have not learned anything. They have nothing new. They are actively destroying their own party by this point. It's obvious. All right. Black people are buying sections at Popeyes. Listen, for the Super Bowl, Don Julio and Popeyes do this whole collaboration, and you got black people with the sparklers and all this stuff buying sections at Popeyes. You know our people, man. All right. U.S. withdrawals from Civil Rights Council of UN. Of course they should. Trump meets with Netanyahu, proposes Gaza buyout without telling Netanyahu first. Listen, Netanyahu had no idea that Trump wanted to just take Gaza and rebuild it. He had no idea. That was never his plan. See, because this is why I said Israel's really a non-factor. People are really not aware of what's going on. But this was the first thing that I saw, because Trump sat him down in a chair, this and that. He played the game. But this thing with Gaza was a huge, huge thing, because Israel wants land rights to where Gaza is so that it can build this pipeline, because there's a lot quote unquote a lot of oil off the coast of Gaza, and they have this pipeline they want to put in, and they needed Gaza to run the pipeline. And so that's why it looks like a demolition site. And Trump points this out. Gaza's a demolition site. You wouldn't want anyone to live there. No one can live there. There's nothing for these people to go home to, which is true. They demolished the whole site. And so Trump is like, well, we spent a lot of money on that. We're going to rebuild it. That is not what they wanted. They wanted, first of all, even before that, Gaza is an open air prison. It is literally an open air prison. The people there, the quote unquote Palestinians, are really from Jordan. That comes up in another day. The king of Jordan sent those people there to destabilize Israel. Carved off this piece of land, called it Gaza, said these people have been there forever. They've been there for a couple generations. That is not their homeland. Their homeland is Jordan. And they don't want those people back because, I don't know, there's always a group of people they don't want. They always do this, okay? But those people are culturally Jordanese or whatever. Okay? They came from Jordan originally. The king of Jordan sent them there. And then they called themselves Palestinians. They were never Palestinians. We're not talking about Palestinians. We're talking about Jordan, the country of Jordan. That's who sent them there. And so a great deal of them. There's maybe a few here and there that are from naturally or natively Palestinians, but it's not the vast majority of people. The vast majority of those people are Jordanian. Okay. And so what Netanyahu wanted was to take over the land, build it up, and let it be a part of Israel. Well, Trump was like, well, no, it's not going to be a part of Israel, but let's put American soldiers there. Whoa, freeze. You cannot put Americans into Gaza, because then Israel cannot fight them. Because Israel is the one that funded Hamas. Created it. They created and they're funding their own enemy, their own boogeyman. That's like the CIA with ISIL and all this stuff. Okay. They created and funded them. And so if you have Americans involved, that means you can't go bombing. You can't go, doing all that stuff. It's going to be peace. It has to be peace, because the Americans are involved, and America will blow you off the map if you do this kind of crap to Americans. It's just not going to work. And so basically, Netanyahu did not know this was Trump's plan. He just bust out and you could see, if you go back and look at the press conference, you can see Netanyahu's face. He was not happy. He was not expecting this. He was not happy. He was quite perturbed that this is what this man said. He was not expecting Trump to say that. And honestly, to this day, March 15th, I still believe that this probably the best plan. Now, there's been, stuff happened, but I still think it's the best plan, and I haven't seen a better plan yet. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Netanyahu had no idea that's what was coming, and it really created a lot of problems. Trick Daddy rejects Kendrick Lamar win. I don't know why Trick Daddy's relevant. He's another one of these Haitian Empire loyalists. I don't care. Okay. I propose sending evangelicals and Hebrew Israelites to Gaza. Of course, these people love Israel more than anything. Send them to Gaza. I don't understand what the problem is. That seemed like it would work good to me, especially these Hebrew Israelites. Then they can be Israelites over in Israel land and whatever it is they want. Let them all go there. They love Jews more than anybody else. Let them go be with the Jews. Another thing that the Israel does not want. Okay. The helicopter crash, the Black Hawk helicopter crash that happened a couple weeks ago from this point, had a bad altimeter. So basically, remember, this was a training flight. Yes, it was a white female who was the pilot of the plane, but it had been suspected that there was something wrong with the plane, and this is what was wrong. It had a bad altimeter. The altimeter is what tells you what height you're at. So if you're in the air traffic control and you're telling the Black Hawk copter, hey, you're flying at they don't tell you you're flying at X, Y, and Z height. They say, hey, you need to get to X, Y, and Z height. There's a plane landing, all whatever. And your altimeter says you're higher than what you actually are. Then you would be confused. Like, that's why she tried to move at the last minute, because she realized the altimeter was bad. That is it's not human error. It was an accident, just like some of us had tried to say, okay? Wiz Khalifa raps over Squabble Up, which is a really, really good thing. I think Wiz is putting out an album, Cushion OJ 2 or something like that. 3, I don't know. I don't follow Wiz Khalifa, but he does put out a cover to Squabble Up, which is really good. De minimis stops packages from being delivered from USPS. So basically, the USPS comes out and announces, we're not going to be delivering any more packages from China, because, again, with the whole de minimis issue, de minimis is a rule that Clinton put in place that any package valued under $800 could be delivered into America without paying any tariffs. And so what they would do is they would package thousands of items, and because they weren't being addressed as the whole load, but just one individual item, if they were able to scam the de minimis system. So they never paid any tariffs for any of the items they sent in. So Trump has ended that and said everything has to be tariffed. And basically, the USPS is the one who's been, this is why the USPS doesn't have any money, because all of their money was basically taken away. They used to make money from delivering these packages, taking on fees and stuff like that. Because guess what? When you ship it from China, I know you're not going to believe this, but when you ship something from China and it comes into the United States and goes to the post office, they literally they send it to the person without receiving any payment for that, because it's de minimis. And the freight was paid in China. And so technically maybe the Chinese post mail is supposed to send them a portion or whatever. They never do. So this is why the USPS has been in such dire straits. This issue should have been addressed so that the USPS could be making their money. So I do believe this is one of the things that's going to be addressed now that I'm talking about it. But that's that. All right. CIA offers buyouts to its workers, which is good. The CIA should be completely dismantled, except for maybe a few hundred people, to deal with overseas issues only. But it's really not the CIA the problem. It's the black CIA. So basically, when you're a high-level CIA person, when you leave out, you create your own intelligence agency with a bunch of people who have security clearances. This is why the security clearance system has to be overhauled. When you come out of the government, you should lose your security clearance. We should not be subsidizing companies for security clearances. Let them pay for the security clearances for their own company. Every small company has to pay for their own screening. We, the taxpayer, should not be subsidizing security clearances. So when you come out of the government, you should lose your security clearance, because you're no longer an employee of the government. You should not keep your security clearance just because the government gave it to you. You should lose it. I don't know why this is so difficult. It's because these companies like Boeing and Lockheed Martin and all of these companies, they want Americans to pay for security clearances, and then they want to use them. Because if you try to apply for a job for Boeing, you don't have a security clearance, you'll never get a job. So you literally have to go to the government, take some kind of entry level job, whatever, just so you can get the security clearance and then go and apply for Boeing. It's horrific. It's horrific what they do. So I hope that they overhaul the whole program, because it's really, I don't want to pay for nobody's security. I don't want to subsidize these big corporations either. Let them pay for their own security clearances, period. And that should be a service that the FBI provides. Like, you should be able to go to the FBI, spend $1,000 to $10,000 and pay for a security clearance. I don't understand why that's not a service of the government. You would think that way you could just get your security clearance and go apply for a job. I don't understand. They turn this whole, like, the stuff that should be easy, they make it super difficult. It makes no sense why you have to work for the government in order to get security clearance. If it has a dollar amount on it, tell the people how much it costs, just like you apply for a passport. You should be able to apply for a security clearance. What's the problem? Anyway, that's the thing that really pisses me off, because we are paying those security clearance. If you have a top secret security clearance, that could be $50,000. $50,000. No, you should not be able to take that with you when you leave the government. No, you need to, if you're going to use outside the government, whatever company you go to should have to pay for half of that. At least that would make the most sense. Doing the way that they do the security clearances now makes absolutely no sense. And they have the FBI. If all the FBI did was security clearances for Americans, and then the CIA was overseas conducting the background, for security clearances for people who are non-Americans. They're in these different countries and they're just doing the background check to find out who these people are. That would be a good use of the government. This is not rocket science, but they just, I'm sorry. Some stuff makes me really upset. All right. The OODA loop viral ghost thread. So there's a OODA loop thread. That was a particular process that was used during World War I or World War II, and it has a book, and it's definitely something you should look at, because it's pretty much the strategy of the Trump administration, this OODA loop, and it's working. As of March 15th, it's working. All right, Wednesday, February the 5th, 2025. There's a post on Mary Turner that goes viral. And of course, Mary Turner was a woman whose husband was lynched here in Valdosta, Georgia, over fraudulent charges. Her husband was lynched. I think his had like a female name. I can't remember, but her husband was lynched, and then one day, and then the next day she was lynched and she was pregnant and the baby was cut out. Really, really horrific incident, and people are now talking about that. Now, I will add that her bloodline was avenged when there was a hurricane that specifically targeted directly Valdosta, Georgia, and tore the whole place up, because it's right across the line here from in Florida. It tore the whole place up. And so, a lot of the retribution that so-called blacks are looking for, of vengeance for their ancestors, has literally already happened. It's just that they don't know about it, so they don't think it's enough. Okay, which I disagree. All right, China to probe Apple practices, again with these people taking advantage of our American companies. But I can say that Apple is engaging in really bad practices. Tim Cook should have been gone. He is a terrible, terrible leader for the company. They have no innovation, no nothing, and their company is going to lose a lot of money if they don't start to innovate. U.S. drafts plan to withdraw Syrian troops. I'm sorry. U.S. drafts a plan to withdraw Syrian troops. So we're going to get out of Syria, which is great. Warning is issued to witches not to astral project into DC. Yeah, because we're protecting the president. So don't astral project into DC. You're trying to figure out what's going on, see what you're going to do to harm the program or whatever. He's being protected, okay? Trump's being protected. All of them are being protected, okay? All right. Senator Cassidy strikes a deal with RFK to vote for him. And basically what Senator Cassidy says is that RFK is not going to make any changes at all without coming before his committee, which is crazy. So again, these people still want to allow these particular whoever people to be in charge. And it's not going to work though. Okay. Politico. Now, yesterday I reported that Politico didn't get paid. Okay. Today, Politico receives millions from USAID, which is crazy. $1.2 million of USAID money went to the AME church, why? Why would USAID money go to the AME church? 90% of subscribers to left publications are taxpayer funded. Literally, you have every agency in the freaking government has multiple subscriptions to these organizations. Hundreds of thousands of subscriptions, low-level subscriptions, high-level subscriptions. They all have subscriptions to these organizations. And that is what we've been wondering, what has been keeping their media afloat, and it's USAID money, so the taxpayer. The U.S. Digital Services I did this already. Well, it comes out again. The U.S. or I think Elon confirms it. The U.S. Digital Services, which is from an Obama executive order, was repurposed for Doge. I do believe Elon comes out and confirms it. The NFL removes DEI statements from Super Bowl field, which I ask, is the NFL getting USAID money? Because why would they need to report? This USAID thing, it still boils my blood, okay? USAID funding the global left policies organizations. Yes, it's funding the whole global left. Global. They're all of their Green New Deal, they're funding the whole thing. The transgender, sex, gender, whatever, all of it. They're funding, USAID is funding all of it, okay? 82-year-old Mitch McConnell falls down. He needs to go, okay? He should retire immediately. The Bank of England gold is trading at a discount, which means they have no gold. And so they're just selling you paper that they don't have. They don't have the gold. So now they're trading it at a discount to trying to get some money together to buy some more gold because they don't have it. Hillary Clinton picks a fight with Duffy, which makes me think that Hillary Clinton is the one that is forcing those planes down. And I still believe that. I think that she is involved allegedly with these planes that are all coming down because of all the people she could pick a fight with. That's who she picks a fight with. Why not pick a fight with Rubio? Why not pick a fight with, I don't think Tulsi has been sworn in yet, but she literally just picks a fight with Secretary Duffy, which makes no sense, okay? Of the Department of Transportation. Sundance, which is on X, he proposes USAID rollout is being perception managed, meaning we're finding out about USAID. People are being really upset, but it seems like an operation. Maybe a operation to bring the truth to light, but still, it seems like it's being perception managed, which I agree with. Which is fine. Americans have to be propagandized, and can we just be propagandized for good things? Americans are subject to propaganda, so let's just be propagandized for good things. We have a very strong Neptune placement for this country, America, the whole 1776 thing, which means that we're subject to propaganda. That's fine. Just let the propaganda be truth. I don't know. Anyway, I won't do that. All right, Rubio won't attend the G20 to protest South Africa. And as of March 15th, this thing with South Africa, it goes downhill from here. And again, the issue with South Africa is that they have a group of people there The Boers, they're white, and the president, Ruto, he believes that all the white people are evil. And so they have been taking their land, taking their farmland, basically treating them very inhumanely. Now, the problem I have with South Africa is that they got a lot of stuff going on, and I don't think we should be involved in it at all. Let them do what they're going to do. If they're going to destroy their people, we shouldn't be involved in it at all, because really don't have nothing to do with us, except for the humanitarian part of what you're not going to do is kill all these people, take away their livelihood in ways that are unfair. They did not do that here, allegedly. So America should be involved in these kind of things. And I think there's some other stuff going on, which may come out later. Okay. USAID preserves U.S. dominance, or globalism. So USAID was used to actually run globalism. Without USAID, globalism basically it takes a huge hit. But we do see that the globalists are fighting back. But all of these globalists, they weren't even using their own money, which I always knew. I knew they weren't using their own money. They're literally using American labor. I mean, America has never gotten rid of slavery. This USAID was just the latest version of American slavery. Okay. U.S. government vessels can travel Panama Canal for free, which is way less. They used to charge exorbitant fees, but they weren't fees. They were kickbacks. It was a whole horrible problem. And Americans are the ones who built the Panama Canal. So, and a lot of lives were lost as a result of that. And so, of course, we should be able to use it for free. Like, what kind of mess is that? Florida announces a Second Amendment summer. I call it brat summer. Where you'll be able to buy a bunch of stuff without taxes, okay? El Salvador pays everyone's electricity in January. America, the whole country's electricity was paid in January by the government. Trump signs pro-girl executive order surrounded by little girls, which we know Biden could never do because he could never keep his hands or his nose to himself. Which basically said girls are for girl sports and boys are for boy sports. And this is a bipartisan issue supported by like 80% of America. Weed can trigger schizophrenia. That's a FYI for anyone who didn't know that. Streamers are more influential than rappers. This is true. And USAID is 1% of the federal budget. That means there is more waste, fraud, and abuse in other places, more than you could ever imagine, because it's only 1% and the numbers are astronomical, and it's still only 1% of the budget. Okay. All right. Last day for this episode. This is Thursday, February the 6th, 2025. BBC is upset that USAID is getting cut because they were receiving USAID funds too. Leandro Ball and Lil Wayne do a Tweaker remix, which is okay. Colombia wants to legalize cocaine. Of course they do. It's their number one export. Brazil. USAID is funding the Soros prosecutors. Again, these globalists were never spending any of their own money. They were always spending someone else's money. Not someone else's, American taxpayer funds for their global programs. They were never spending their own money. Brazil is protecting indigenous land, which is good. USAID is funding leftist polls and BLM through the Tides Foundation, which if you don't know about the Tides Foundation, just look it up. This is not a good group of people, and of course they're funding everybody. So basically what was happening, USAID would give somebody a grant. All right, the grant is whatever, they would take that money and give it to somebody else, like a pass-through. We talk about this in coming weeks, like a pass-through entity. They're just the ones who can fill out the paperwork and get the money, and then they're passing it through to whoever to do whatever they want. USAID staff is diminished to 294 globally from 10,000. All those people get fired. Trump orders review of all NGOs that get government funding. Everybody is going to be reviewed to see if they can meet basic accounting standards, and they can't. Okay. NCAA makes no males in women's sports official, although they don't actually enforce it. So this is a battle that's ongoing. Pregnant illegals sue Trump over birthright citizenship. They don't have a right to sue. They have no standing. Okay. Irv Gotti, who is a big producer out of New York, passes away. Trump shuts down EPA, Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights Group. As of today, 60,000 federal employees have taken the buyout. Most Dems support keeping men out of women's sports. It's, like I said, it's universal. The USDAIG ordered the killing of the birds, and that person ends up like having to be removed. She just anyway, Trump orders removal of FEC chair FEC chair. Okay, Harry Stewart, Tuskegee pilot, dies at age 100. Homan knows who leaked Aurora ice raid, so they're gonna go after them. The CFO for OPM resigns, which they should, because they didn't want to actually turn some information over to Doge. Just this whole thing. I mean, they're just drama queens. Okay. USAID was paying to experiment on people, which is crazy. Why is USAID funding this human experimentation? Should have never happened. Okay. Reporter doxes Doge employee Harry Balls and gets him fired, which it takes up the news cycle. It's a huge thing. Pelosi gets $137 million from USAID, which is no, never. Shem, Ham, and Japheth are triplets. I am going to go through deeper into that on my spiritual channel, but just think about that in the story, and the story makes more sense. I actually think this Doge firing of Harry Balls is fake, and it does seem that it is. I mean, not fake, but a publicity stunt. That's better. Just Dario, which is a ex-user, says options trades to cover money laundering. So basically, they take the dirty money, they put it on the stock market, they trade it, they win money, they take the money out, and now it's clean. Money laundering. People from Gaza agree with Trump. They would like the United States to basically colonize them, which makes sense. 6,000 journalists and 700 newsrooms receive USAID funds. Insane. Okay, insane. Marines passed their audit again. So they're doing what they're supposed to do with their money. They're the only one to pass the audit. Because the Marines are the ones that are controlled by the executive branch. They are really the only, I won't say legitimate, but executively, they're the only unit that answers to the executive. Let's put it that way, okay? Trump creates council for anti-Christian bias. Now, we know that there's a council for anti-Jewish bias, right? People don't see the play with this. Like, in order to, this is over and over again. Trump allows these people to dig themselves a hole. Like, with this whole thing with the, these protests that were going on the college campuses for, Hamas. Okay. He allows these people to dig their hole. Okay. They dig the hole real deep because they don't understand that it's a hole and that it's not a house. They're digging a hole. And so he allows them to dig their hole. So everything that they're protecting as it relates to Jews, that means they will have to protect it as it relates to Christians. So if the Jews are arguing, we can't do this, we can't do that. Okay, let them argue it. And then 6 months from now, around Christmas, usually this stuff comes up for the Christians, and the Jews are like, well, we don't have to do, no. You can't be biased. We can't be biased against you. You can't be biased against us. It's really a total realignment of American principles. And people don't really see the big picture play, but I for sure do. Sterling and Shannon Sharp are the first brothers inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, because Sterling Sharp gets inducted. Steak and Shake announced tallow in Florida, and then it's going to be all over the country. They're going to fry in tallow. And horrific, USAID funded the Hamas tunnels. It's really sad. So this is the news for February 3rd through 6th. We'll come back in the next podcast and discuss the weekend, which actually isn't going to have as much news, but it's okay. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Again, this is the Don't Miss It podcast with your host, Sophia Spiritualite, part of the MariKaNa News Network. If you like this type of content, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next podcast.